are recorded. Strap in and be prepared.
You just heard Baby J about 3 minutes give his entire A to Z on what was going on. I didn't interrupt you.
I don't even like I got to everything, honestly.
No, you didn't get to everything.
Interesting guests.
Kelly Graves, Mike Parker, Josh Pate, Melissa Lombardi, Yogi Roth, who said that Justin and I are smart.
Sharp opinions.
I think Dan Lanning sitting in his office going, you know what, fine, give us the toughest road to win the national championship. That's what it should be.
I think that this team is going to go as far as Malik Murphy takes them. There's a lot to like about this offense if he's who we think he could be.
And some smiles.
Is this thing on?
Is this thing working? No, that's why you got to do this. You got to go.
Hello?
Hello? Testing, testing,
it's like the little
testing.
girl in Nemo where she's tapping on the glass.
Fishy! Fishy, wake up, Fishy!
It's Danny Havel.
We have to be more specific. We have a lot of pickle things going on,
know.
apparently.
Justin Grossweiner.
I've been wrong before, but that's what I think.
Danny and Justin starts now on Fox Sports Eugene and Newport.
Hello, neighbors, and welcome high atop the Delta Triad, the Crystal Palace, the Bigfoot Beverages Studios in Eugene and Newport. This is the fastest 60 minutes in sports talk. It's the Danny and Justin radio program. You can follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky, Danny and Justin. Also, wherever you pod, Danny and Justin, or the fastest 60 minutes. The Oregon Man Clinic's hotline at 541-343-5673. Welcome, friends. We are going to race through this program. We call it the fastest 60 minutes. Man, oh man, we have crammed a lot in today. I'm Danny Havel, right over there. My tag team partner, producer extraordinaire, it is Justin Grossreiner. We call him Baby J. What up, boy?
Crammed in is the right words, Danny. We've got some great guests today. Getting ready for football season. I'm ready. You're ready. Everyone's ready. Everyone's doing their fantasy drafts right now this week.
Oh, that's right. You know, are you doing yours? Mine is September 1st, by the way.
Mine is September 1st and September 2nd, and I think I have one this Saturday as well, so we'll see. It's a lot for me. I'm doing a lot of leagues this year.
Okay, I think I have one or two.
That's the way you got to do it.
I don't spend enough time on it otherwise. I can't.
Well, the hard thing is when you have players that are conflicting in terms of you're playing somebody that you have in one league and then you're playing them in another league.
Oh, and yeah.
You have you're rooting for a very specific amount of points.
If
you get 17 points, you win, but if they get 19 points, you lose in your other league.
So about an hour ago, speaking of that, the cut downs were officially closed. So the announcements, though, here's what's weird about the NFL and actually most major league sports is that there's a deadline, but then the announcement of the trades or the cuts or such don't come immediately. They're kind of filtered out, and we'll start hearing about the official cut downs for all of the teams over the next couple of hours. But we already know several of them, and we'll discuss that in the program today. We also have Dave Eanet, so we missed him yesterday. It was our fault, my fault, not Justin's fault. It was my fault.
No, it's a we.
No,
we
that's
take
fine.
mutual responsibility
I'll
in
take
this
the hit for
program.
this. I appreciate that, but I'll take the hit for it. But we do have Dave Eanet on the program, the voice of Northwestern football. A very interesting conversation as we talk about the matchup for Oregon in the first Big Ten game this year on the road in Evanston, Illinois, which is coming up. I'll turn that off. Don't worry about it. And then we also have, which is fantastic, for the first time on this program, you've already talked to him.
A couple of years ago.
Junction City native, the head coach of the Cal Bears, Justin Wilcox, will join us on this program. We're extremely excited to talk to him about his program, the NIL, the change, and he lost a lot of players.
Yet another one of these teams.
And he's got to reload. He's in the ACC now, but he gets a Pac-12 after dark matchup to start the season on Saturday night against Oregon State. So we'll hear from the head coach of the Bears.
Yeah, a couple of these programs that we're talking about today, Northwestern, a lot of transfers. We're going to get the perspective of the play-by-play, the voice of the Wildcats, and then we're also going to get the head coach for Cal. So it's some interesting perspectives on players moving around, so much turnover now in college football. It's just reality. So I'm excited to get some perspective of, I guess, now a Big Ten team and a former Pac-12 team, now an ACC team.
Can we finally say now that we made it through the long, hot, dry summer? We made it.
Yeah.
We made it. We
did.
Fortunately for us, there was a lot. What?
It's still Saturday. We still have to wait till Saturday. So, yeah, but it's
No,
Tuesday.
but so baseball, and I have to give some credit to Melissa Lombardi for the softball program, to Mark Wasikowski, obviously to Mitch Canham, for helping us get to June with baseball and softball. We had a
some great
lot
stuff.
to talk about.
Yeah.
And then now, we have this, which is the fall football season is right upon us. Danny Justin rolls on live from the Bigfoot Beverages studios in Eugene and Newport, Fox Sports, as we are glad and happy to welcome onto the program for the first time the voice of Wildcat football and basketball for over 30 years. It's the legendary Dave Eanet. Dave, welcome to the program. And man, you've seen a lot of ups and downs, ins and outs there on the campus of Northwestern over the years, haven't you?
Yeah, no question, Danny. Good to be with you guys. Yeah, I mean, when I started doing the games, this was a program which hadn't come close to tasting success in probably about 20 years at the time, and went through a real dark period where victories were very few. And but in the mid-'90s with Gary Barnett, that team that went to the Rose Bowl, won the Big Ten, beat Notre Dame, beat Michigan, beat Penn State in '95, and that kind of got them turned in the right direction. And since then, really, for the most part, the football program's been pretty good. They've still had some ups and downs, but the downs have been not quite as far down, and the ups have been all right.
So last year was, I wouldn't say an anomaly, but a pleasant surprise because there weren't a whole lot of expectations on this Wildcat football program in the Big Ten, but they turned out and turned up. And so talk about that and the enthusiasm that's surrounding this program heading into 2025.
Well, I think there's a lot of enthusiasm now. I mean, 2 years ago, I think this team kind of surprised everybody because they were coming off a rough season in 2022 when they beat Nebraska over in Ireland and then proceeded to lose their next 11 games. And after that, of course, they went through in the summer of 23, went through the coaching change with Pat Fitzgerald being fired amid the hazing allegations, and then David Braun, who had just come in as defensive coordinator, being elevated to the interim head coaching job just a few weeks before camp opened. So it was really a lot of unsteadiness or uncertainty around the program. And they ended up winning 8 games, beating Utah in the Las Vegas Bowl, and, turned it into a pretty good season. Last year, they took a step back. I think the expectations are that they're going to be a better team this year. The question, I think, guys in the Big Ten these days is, if you are better, where is it going to get you? Because everybody's playing such a demanding schedule, and if you're in the bottom half of the conference, as the Wildcats were last year, to climb your way up is challenging, especially when your Big Ten opener is against a team like Oregon.
And I'm glad you brought this up because this is exactly what I was just about to ask you. The tough schedule. So home games against Oregon and Michigan. The road games in the conference are really tough. Penn State, Nebraska, USC, Illinois. I mean, really, really high level of opponents that you're playing in this conference. So does it feel to you like this helps the program? Because if you're playing against really good opponents, you're going to attract players that want to play against that good talent. They're going to get evaluators looking at them that maybe could help the program overall in terms of the talent level. All rising tides lift all boats, as they say. Or does it feel like you're kind of mentioning that you're adding these 4 schools from the West Coast and you're making it even more difficult in what was an already very difficult conference to begin with?
Well, I'd put it this way. I mean, it's not like it's been a day at the beach up till now anyway.
Right.
I mean, it hasn't been easy in the Big Ten in previous years. And look, last year they had a tough schedule too. They had to play Ohio State. Illinois was very good last year. They played that Indiana team that was really rolling when they came into Evanston. They played Wisconsin. I mean, it's just a very tough schedule. Iowa. So, I don't know what the ultimate ramifications are, but I do think that most of the guys, if you talk to the players in Northwestern uniforms, they'll tell you that is why they came to Evanston. They want a great education. but also to play at this level and to combine that, to combine being able to get a degree from Northwestern and play against the Michigans and Oregons and Ohio States of the world. So I do think it's a positive for them. You have to look at it that way, and I think that it's really important. I think it's a coaching job that David Braun assumed that's maybe not for everybody. I mean, you have to kind of understand it's a tough job, and you have to get the right kind of athletes and student athletes, to be sure, to come in there. And I think they've over the years done a good job of that. And I think maybe in some ways people look at that Northwestern education now, value it a little more, because I think they understand that you're not just deciding where you're going to go and play football, but you're also deciding, making a decision that's going to shape your life. And so I think, I think it helps them. And I think being able to play against the Oregons and UCLA's in Evanston and to go out to USC and play, I think it's a positive for them. And I think from a recruiting standpoint, a couple of things have happened. I think with the House settlement now, I think maybe the playing field's been leveled to a certain extent. And I think that it's a positive if kids can come to Northwestern and go out and play USC on a Friday night in November on national TV.
Since 1990, he's been the voice of Northwestern football. Dave Eanet joining us, also the sports director at WGN, but he's going to hang that up this week after 30 years in that chair, off and on. Started in 1984 and then back again in 1996. Not gonna care too much about not getting up at 3:30 in the morning to get back into the chair, but happy to have him here on the Danny and Justin radio program. So in 4-8 last year, 8 wins the year before, and I want to start on the defensive side of the football because the line, you've got Aiden Hubbard there, 6 sacks last year. Antil Saka got an experienced front seven, but there are concerns on the back half of that, Dave. You lost some key playmakers in the back end, but you do have Damon Waters coming back as a leader on the backside of that defense. So is this where David Braun might try and build this team, is around that defense and shore things up in the secondary?
Well, I think they have to a certain extent, Danny. And I mean, they did lose some guys. Theron Johnson, who's now playing for Oregon, had a tremendous year last year for them. But, they've gone out. They've brought in a couple of transfers in the secondary. Fred Davis, the second, he's going to be starting this week against Tulane. You've got Dylan Tatum transferred in from Michigan State, who's going to be playing a key role in a safety position. Damon Walters, as you mentioned, is a really good player, had a tremendous year as a redshirt freshman. They got some other safeties, though, who I think are pretty good. And Josh Fussell, the other corner who played opposite Theron last year, I think is a really promising guy at the corner spot. So I don't think the cupboard is bare by any means. They may be a little young in the secondary. Ori Adai, a guy who played a couple of years ago, was hurt last year, is back from his injury. So he gives them some experience back there. But I do think their front seven is going to be the strength of this defense. And you mentioned 2 guys, Hubbard and Saka, who I think are poised to have really big years for them up front.
And you mentioned Theron Johnson. I'm just curious from your perspective, because he is going to be a guy that's expected to play a really big role for this Oregon secondary. That's kind of one of the guys that you can plug in, and then around him and the other positions, we kind of don't know exactly what's going to happen. Dylan Thieneman, we know, is going to be in there as well. But what are the Ducks getting out of Theron Johnson from what you saw from him?
Well, I mean, a tremendous cover corner, guy who's got some skills with the ball, too. He had a big pick 6 last year, I think, against Iowa. And, look, he's got experience. I mean, that's what you want. And this Northwestern defense was on the field a lot last year because the offense had trouble sustaining drives. So he got a lot of reps last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to fit in nicely with that Oregon team. And, I'm sure he's going to get a lot of attention when they come into Evanston for that first Big Ten game, because I think everybody's going to be sort of on the lookout for him.
So this weekend, you get to unveil the Preston Stone era at Northwestern, the SMU transfer quarterback who had a really, really impressive 2023, and it's kind of puzzling how things dropped off in 2024 for the young man and how he struggled. But you get a quarterback that I think a lot of people are pretty excited about. So talk about what you've seen about, from this young man on campus, Dave.
Well, he's been really terrific. Came in, and I think he's impressed everybody. If you look over the course of his career, you're right. I mean, in 23, had a tremendous year, got hurt right before the bowl game, and then last year lost the starting job on a playoff team, but he was still very much in the mix at SMU, and I think he was highly coveted when he went into the portal. And if you look over the course of his career, 35 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. I mean, I don't know if there's a coach in America who wouldn't take that. And he's got a strong arm, but most of all, he brings a lot of experience to the position. And, that's an area in which they were short last year. Jack Lausch, who was their starting quarterback much of the season, a really talented kid who's now playing baseball. They started the year with Mike Wright, a transfer who had come in from Mississippi State, and he played the first couple games and then got benched, even though they split those first 2 games. And, at that point, Lausch took over, and they had trouble sustaining drives, as I mentioned. They got hurt by, some key penalties and in tough situations, some turnovers. And when they've been good in recent years, they've done it behind veteran quarterbacks. Ben Bryant a couple of years ago on that Las Vegas Bowl team. Peyton Ramsey, you may remember the transfer from Indiana, took them to the Big Ten West title in 2020. So, I mean, I think they're pretty optimistic that Preston Stone, from a leadership standpoint, from a skills standpoint, can be a guy who can kind of get them back to where they were before they took a step back last year.
And in terms of his supporting cast, a lot of transfers around him on offense, including Griffin Wilde, who had a really nice season last year in the FCS for South Dakota State, over 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. How do you feel about the weapons around Preston Stone and what they've built around him?
Well, first of all, they have a much better offensive line in front of them. I think that might be the biggest key here, because the offensive line was better last year than it had been, but it needed to get better. And they brought in some transfers on the offensive line, along with some guys who've come up in the program. Mo Aratakai, redshirt freshman, played a handful of games last year. He'll be on that offensive line at left guard. They have one of the best tackles in the Big Ten, in Caleb Chernin, who's huge. 6'7", they list him at 325. I mean, he's one guy who's was a mainstay on that line and will be again this year. And so the offensive line is going to be better. So that helps right off the bat. They have a veteran backfield with Cam Porter back for his 6th year at running back. Joseph Hyman II, Caleb Komalafe. These guys are all good Big Ten running backs. Maybe a little different, but I think that Porter is more that kind of north-south runner, but he's got a ton of experience. He's a repeating captain this year for Northwestern. So I think they're set at running back. Offensive line's good. You mentioned Wilde, who certainly has put up some huge numbers. But I think that the big question is, which of these other wide receivers are really going to emerge this year? And I'm pretty confident that some of them will. Frank Covey, the fourth, is a guy who just hasn't been able to stay on the field because of injuries. But when he's been able to play, when he's been healthy, he's a guy who's a sure-handed receiver. Ricky Amarazi is a guy who was expected to play a big role last year, but again, dealt with some injuries. And they got a bunch of guys behind them. Chase Barrow, a transfer from Stanford, didn't play at Stanford, comes in here, and he's going to get an opportunity. So, I think they're going to be good at wide receiver. I'm just not sure beyond Wilde which guy is going to be sort of that next breakout guy.
Switching gears from the team here just for a second, I had to bring this up because Danny and I are both from Chicago, and you've been at WGN for a long time. So I'm just curious. Of course, I'm 30 years old, so I grew up with the Cubs on WGN. I watched them in Florida, in Alaska, in Oregon, so many places. I'm just curious, just from your experience there, what do you think the biggest impact of WGN has been in sports broadcasting?
Well, I mean, certainly WGN and the Cubs were synonymous, and on the radio side for 90 years, up until 2014 was the last season with us on radio, and then a few years after that on TV until the Cubs started their own network, the Marquee Network. But I think if you go around, and you would know this, Justin, around the Midwest, you go out to Iowa, you would see the bus loads come in, and people who would watch the Cubs on WGN on cable. And while it was a similar situation with the Atlanta Braves on TBS for a long time, it kind of happened with the Cubs and Harry Carey starting in the 80s with that 84 team starring the likes of Ryan Sandberg, may rest in peace, and others on that team. And they became kind of almost a religion to a lot of people around the country. So that's why when the Cubs play in these different when they go out to Arizona, you know how many Cubs fans are in the ballpark, and in when they play in the parks in Florida, it's very similar. So, yeah, I mean, they've played a big role. There's no question about it. And you look at the guys who have called the games, who are recognized in Cooperstown, whether it's Harry or Jack Brickhouse or Pat Hughes. I mean, there's a reason those guys ended up in the Hall of Fame, and part of it is the association with that franchise and what they did for the franchise.
Well, Dave, your credit to what you do in the industry and your longevity speaks to that. I do want to say when Oregon fans come to Chicago and to Evanston to watch the Ducks take on Northwestern, it's not going to be at Ryan Field because you're still working on that. You still have temporary facilities. But that's going to be one thing. But the second thing is that you get a couple of games at Wrigley Field this year. Again, so how cool is that? And the configuration of trying to play a football game at Wrigley Field, how has that worked?
Well, they played the first game in like half a century in 2010. They played Illinois at Wrigley, and they could only play, they determined the day before the game that they could only play in one direction because the East End zone was right up against the brick wall in right field. And so I guess some lawyers came out and looked at it and determined it was a real liability issue. So they had both offenses move east to west that day. And the only time the other end zone got used was when Brian Peters, the safety for Northwestern, intercepted an Illinois pass and ran it back for a pick six, and he scored in the east end zone. But since then, Wrigley was redone.
Yeah.
They are able to remove the third base dugout, the home dugout for the Cubs, and they're able to extend the field with enough space behind both end zones that it's no longer an issue. And I actually do think it's a very cool atmosphere. They have played there on a regular basis. Last year, Ohio State and Illinois both played there. A couple of years ago, Purdue, Iowa played there, I think 2 years ago. Before that, Purdue. And, the one thing about it is Northwestern hasn't won a game there since they started playing some games back at Wrigley. So they get two chances this year against Michigan and Minnesota in November. They're hoping that they can finally break through and walk out of Wrigley Field with a win. But I would say that this will be the last year they play there, barring a special occasion sometime in the future, because they're going to play their games at the new Ryan Field starting next season. And with all that's gone on to making that happen, they're not going to let that sit empty on a Saturday when they're playing a home game.
Dave, we look forward to talking with you again on game week. We really appreciate your time. We will ask the question that is burning in everyone's head on the next time we get you back week of the game, which is deep dish versus cracker crust. What do the natives eat? Because we're natives. You know what I'm getting to, right?
Yeah, I do. I generally don't go there, but I'll address it for you.
Thank you, sir. Dave, thank you again for the time, sir. We appreciate it.
You bet, guys. Good being with you.
The great Dave Eanet, and I'll tell you, you and I know what we need to eat when we go to Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And he does as well. He's trying to be politically correct for the tourists.
Of course. And
So do we save that for that week? It's
Yeah.
like 3 weeks. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, well, we can save it for that week.
I mean, the whole Wrigley Field thing as well. I would love to see a football game at Wrigley Field.
Where else do they have one? They have those in other stadiums too. I think it's. I can't remember where else, but they've done it. Maybe. Well, of course, they used to do it at the the Athletics Stadium when they had the Raiders there. Of course,
but they also do a bowl game at Yankee Stadium.
That's
Pinstripe
right. That's
Bowl.
what it is. That's what I'm thinking.
That's
about.
right. There
you go.
There you
we
go.
figured it out.
When we come back, Justin Wilcox, Oregon native, Junction City boy, will be here with us, the Cal football coach. Danny and Justin rolls on here for a Tuesday. The Danny and Justin radio program live from the Bigfoot Beverages studios in Eugene and Newport. Thanks for tuning in. We'll head on over to the Oregon Man Clinics hotline and welcome in the head coach since 2017 of the Cal Bears and a Eugene native. Well, we'll call him Junction City native. It's Justin Wilcox.
Junction City native. You got to get that
I'm
right.
going to say, I corrected myself immediately. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you got that right. No, it's good to be on with you.
So let's talk about this team and this season coming up. But first, I'm sure you've probably gotten all the tons of questions, so we'll go ahead and get that one out of the way. Going into the ACC and the travel, that adjustment last year, talk about that first for your program. And were there things that you needed to do internally to make those adjustments, or was it a whole lot about nothing for you guys?
Other than the fact that we left a day earlier, I mean, we would leave on Thursdays as opposed to Fridays. So, like, we play in the West, you leave Friday. Like this week, we'll leave Friday just around noon for the short flight up there. But playing those long road trips on the East Coast, we would just leave on Thursday. Other than that, I mean, it's just it's a bit longer flight. But we made the most of it because we felt like we had a really good schedule. We got into a rhythm. We would, spent time together on the road, and it was really actually pretty smooth.
The Cal Bears start out their season at Reser Stadium at 7:30 on Saturday night against Oregon State, and we're here with head coach Justin Wilcox. I knew I was going to do that. I had to bring your brother into the conversation with Justin Wilcox. So, Coach, talk about the offseason and the ramp-up. You lost a lot of skill players in the backfield. You plugged it in with some transfers and also some kids that you recruited. So let's start on the offensive side of the football. I mean, there's going to be a lot of moving parts. So we can begin at the quarterback position if you'd like.
Yeah. So Jaron was a mid-year enrollee out of high school. He'll start for us. He's done a fantastic job since he's been here. He's a very talented young guy. He's got the right demeanor to be successful early in his career. But he's a freshman, and he's going on the road, be his first start. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, learning going on. But it's our job as a program and as an offense and defense is to help the quarterback. And so we're very optimistic about what he can do, but we just need to do a great job around him, coaches and players, early on in the season to get him going.
And is the key to just basically let him be himself and not trying to let him get too overwhelmed when he's out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we got to, do things he's good at. And he's, the quarterback position takes on quite a load just by the nature of the position. Mm-hmm. And so we don't need to add more. He just needs to be him. And everybody around on offense and defense needs to do their part to support him.
So much turnover every year in college football, especially in today's world. How does the way that you coach change or be affected when you have more turnover from one season to another?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's just part of college football now. There's a lot of guys that move, and they move for different reasons. There's obviously a lot of money involved, but we don't really change how we coach them. Our thought process is to treat them really well and coach them really well. And if you can't go out there and live in fear of somebody who might transfer. That's not a good way to operate. So we try to treat them really well, coach them really well, and if a guy chooses to leave, he chooses to leave, and then our job is it's an opportunity to go find somebody that fits in well with us and move forward.
Cal Bears head man Justin Wilcox joining us on the Danny and Justin radio program. Let's stay on the offensive side. Obviously, you lost a couple of your big dogs in the backfield in the running back position. Those are not going to be easy to replace. But, Coach, I know you do like to throw the ball around, so let's talk about some of the wideouts. And Jacob DeJesus is one. You got a transfer from Arkansas, Dasmond James, Mark Hamper from Idaho. Talk about what the quarterback's going to be looking at as you spread out this offense.
Yeah, there's going to be a number of guys playing at the different skill positions, whether it's receiver, tight end, and running back. We really, again, want to share the load with all those guys. But you mentioned Jacob DeJesus. He's been awesome since he's been here. Super competitive. He's not the tallest guy in the world, but he's a really good football player. He'll also return for us. We got a number of tight ends that will be playing. Same with the receiver groups. And Coach Hars and the offensive staff, they do a great job of finding things the guys do well and really leaning into those.
One of the players who had a role in SMU's run last year in the playoff was L.J. Johnson in the backfield. How has he progressed in your program?
He's done a heck of a job. L.J., we feel like with that running back room and the O-line and those tight ends, that we want to take a step forward in the run game. That'll be important for us. We want to be balanced as an offense like everybody does. Everybody says that, but you got to commit to that. And we feel like LJ and those other guys can do some really good things. So we're going to give them opportunities.
Coach, let's move to the defensive side of the football. And a redshirt junior linebacker transferred in from BYU, and he was a much ballyhooed recruit, and he's trying to fit into your mold. Let's talk about Harrison Taggart first. It might be one of those transfers, and you went in and snatched him, that could be very underrated. Harrison's
a darn good player. He's really fast. He's moved around a little bit too. He played a lot last year at BYU. He's been a great addition. Mentality-wise, is exactly what you're looking for. He is 110% every day in everything that he does. It's a really competitive room. Kedu Luave is a phenomenal player. He's obviously starting, but Harrison's going to get some reps in there, and as well as a guy named Luke Forelli, who's a freshman that's really done a fantastic job this camp. So we're really glad to have Harrison. He'll play a critical role for us, not only defense, but on special teams. And so excited to get him some run this weekend.
Coach, as you go through the whole pattern of a game, it's really interesting to me to find out, getting into the mindset of the guy who's going to be helping, make the final decision on calls. Obviously, you trust your O coordinator, your D coordinator. Are you more of a metrics guy, or are you more of a feel guy? Or does that balance out as the game goes on?
Are you talking about all the
analytics? Yeah, go on 4th and 3 here or whatever. But is it more about what you see with your eyes as well during the game?
We use it as supplemental information, so we have that analytics support, and it's a supplemental piece of information to make a decision. I know there's some schools that live and die by it, others that don't use it at all. I'll get the information, and then based on how the game is going, because what it doesn't take into account is any injuries that occur, the momentum of a game, how you're playing that day. So, the analytics, the mathematicians prior to the game, they don't factor the human element in. So I do that, and that is a feel thing. And so there are times when we're right on. There's games where we kind of run right in line with what the analytics would suggest, and other games that not so much. So, I'd say it's just a supplemental piece of information that I use.
So is it pretty cool for you to be able to head back to Research Stadium, former Pac-12 opponents, to open up the season? Because, Oregon State now is going to revitalize the Pac-12 next year, and obviously the regionality of that and the familiarity between the programs is kind of cool. But is it a little bit like coming home?
Well, I mean, any chance we get to play in the West, it's great. A lot of our players have not been there. It's really more, the environment, which we know is going to be great. It's going to be loud. The chainsaw will be going. They got a really good team. They always do. They always play really tough. They're always really good on defense, and they got a quarterback that won a bunch of games last year, a great running back. So, it's more of the teams. But I think it's great to be able to get some of that, the old Pac-12 games going, and who knows, in the next 3, 5, 7 years, what's going to happen, how this all shakes out. But we're certainly looking forward to it.
Well, Coach Wilcox joining us from the Cal Bears. Pac-12 After Dark. We get to revitalize that for the first weekend of the football season this weekend in Corvallis.
Yeah, and Coach, how much are you going to be thinking about the Pac-12 while you're kind of going through the motions of going to a team that you used to see in the old Pac-12?
Not a lot. I mean, there's just so much to do right now. I imagine, at some point down the road when I'm not so busy, I'll reminisce about the Pac-12 and reflect and how that all happened. It's still a bit shocking, but I don't really think about it much, just because we got no control over it. We're excited to play football, and we got to get our team ready. We got a lot of new players and guys that are looking forward to competing, and so our energy goes there. But maybe sometime down the road, sip of iced tea and reflect on all this.
Well, you gonna have any time to get some Abby's Pizza while you're up in Oregon?
Oh man, yes, absolutely. I'll have an order in.
Taco pizza?
I got a couple connections that are going to be able to pick it up in Junction City. I usually go to the Junction City Abby's. I mean, I don't discriminate, but if I have options, I would go to the Junction City Abby's. But I'm going to have a couple connections that I have there, and JC bring it in for Friday night, so I get a slice or two.
Well, Coach, as I know you're on a tight timeline, so we're gonna let you go here in a second. But I do have to ask the whole arms race, and we kind of touched on it with transfer portal, with NIL, and with you and Stanford kind of being on an island in the ACC. How do you see? I mean, do you even worry about that? Is it more because you brought in Ron Rivera to the program? You've got some support. I know you've got great support around you, but do you kind of have to look and help manage that other side of the business now that becomes college football? And does that take away from what you want to do on the field?
Well, certainly in the last few years, it's been a huge focus in how this has all changed and what the job requires. 5 years ago, a lot of the things that I was doing the past few years that weren't even part of my job, and they became part of my job. And that's, you have to do whatever needs to be done. That's what I got to do. And so now, as everybody's evolving, you have the GMs that are stepping in, because there is more to do. I mean, you're talking about roster management, you're talking about kind of payroll, the revenue share, partnerships, what's coming down the pipe, TV. Like, there's just a lot of that stuff. So having Coach Rivera here has been fantastic. I'm not totally out of that world yet, but certainly having him here helps me kind of focus more on some football, which is great. But until it all kind of settles down, because it's trending that way, but there's still a lot to be settled, I think, with the House settlement and what's coming down the pipe. But certainly having him here helps me and us as a program, because he's connected to the campus, he's connected to our donors, and he knows organizational football from being in the NFL.
And just one last question for you, Coach. Just looking big picture, do you have an opinion on the correct amount of teams that should be in the college football playoff?
More.
Okay. Do we have a ceiling? Coach, do we have a ceiling? I love the one word answer, but
more. Here's what I would say.
Okay.
More, I think, is better. I think there's got to be. There's never going to be a perfect solution. Somebody's always going to be the next team that, they're going to feel like they should have got in and didn't. You got to find some. You got to find some parity in the scheduling across all the conferences, so you're playing light competition. I think that's important. I think it'd be great to get some of these the Power Four conferences as well, playing some games. But again, in the next few years, who knows how this is all going to shake out. So that's a little bit out of my control right now. Our job is to get the team ready to play good football. That's really my task, and we know it's going to take great football up there at Oregon State to get a win. So we're focused on that.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you against the Beavers on Saturday night.
I appreciate it.
Justin Wilcox, local boy. I loved when he said more.
It was the right response.
All right, when we come back, hey, so it's NFL roster cutdown. We're going to give you a high-level view of the Oregon and Oregon State players that are still on rosters and who aren't when we come back, Danny and Justin radio program. Jam-packed show today. Man, Dave Eanet, voice of Northwestern, Justin Wilcox, head coach of Cal. If you missed the program, shame on you, first of all. Shame. But you can go back and relive it on all the podcasts, wherever the platform is, right? That's what we call it, Baby J, right?
Mm-hmm.
The platform, Odyssey, iHeart, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. What else? What else we got?
Your list is somewhere around here.
What, you don't know the other ones?
Not off the top of my head.
Wherever you pod, find us, Danny and Justin, or you can type in the fastest 60 minutes, and it'll come up. So who do we have tomorrow on the program? Mr.
Justin Allegri, the play-by-play voice for the Cal Golden Bears, is going to be with us.
Nice. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit of Oregon State, Cal as well. Again, thanks again to Dave and Justin for being on the program. On Thursday, we will have the voice of the Beavers, Mike Parker, on the program. And then Friday, it's the governor coming back in, Yogi Roth. We're also going to do big bets. By the way, I do want to say on the big bets, we're going to, you, me, Goose, we're going to do big bets here. We're going to release it to the fans as well, so they're going to be able to play against us. So we have to have a disclaimer here because of state laws. I hate it, but you know what? It's what it is. You got to be 21 or over if you're going to participate in the big bets when we put it out there for you to bet against us.
We're all 21 or over, so it's not a problem for us. But if you're listening here, you got to be 21.
I'm 21 times almost 3.
Right, you're getting there. Well, I'm not telling your age.
Thanks.
You said it first.
I did. All right, so the cutdown day today. Are there a lot of surprises? I don't think there's a lot of shocks.
The only
in this
one that I saw that people were pretty surprised by was the Detroit Lions released one of their tackles that people were kind of surprised that he was let go.
Okay. So the bigger news for Oregon fans, which we were not surprised by, right? Kenny Pickett was the one on the chopping block in the quarterback room. They were not going to carry 4 quarterbacks. They cut Ty Hunley.
Yeah, it made no sense to carry anybody but Joe Flacco and then the 2 rookies. Because if you're going to basically go with Joe Flacco is going to be better than those other 2 guys.
Absolutely.
He has the experience.
I have no issue with that whatsoever.
And if you're going to be a sinking ship and you're not going to have, well, it's just reality. If you're going to be a sinking ship and you're going to go down with Joe Flacco, you're going to basically turn to one of the rookies. Why would you go with a Kenny Pickett rather than see what you have in a Dylan Gabriel or even a Shedeur Sanders?
So they got a 5th-round pick out of it for Kenny Pickett,
right?
Who's going to be now a backup.
Which they traded a 5th-round pick to get. They got a 5th-round pick from Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Okay.
So it kind of like all evens out.
It was a swap, basically. All right. So Dylan Gabriel makes the Browns roster, which I think we predicted on this program.
Well, not only that, it seems like he's going to be the second string. He's been very impressive.
Second string. He's more efficient.
He's
everybody
a
can knock
player
on his height and everything else, but I think we've been talking about this. His competitive nature, which we saw here, we saw it at Oklahoma as well. You cannot discount that.
Yeah. All you want out of a backup quarterback, and I still think he has the potential to be a starter, but at the very least, all you want out of a backup quarterback is to bring in a guy that you feel like you could win a game. You're not necessarily going to have someone that you feel excellent about, but you want to have somebody that can run your offense and feel like they can give you a fighting chance. And I think Dylan Gabriel definitely does that.
So let's run through these really quick. Jordan Birch makes the roster for the Cardinals. Dante Manning makes the roster for the Falcons. Tysheem Johnson makes the roster for the Bears. Dylan Gabriel, as we just talked about, for the Browns. Johnny Cornelius for the Cowboys. Right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, you got that right. And for the Cowboys, Trayshawn Holden was released.
So let's
but
stay there for a
second.
second. I think he's going to. So here's what's the interesting thing is I don't think the Cowboys wanted to stash a receiver on their practice squad because even if you stash them on the practice squad, they can be picked up from another team. So they just waived him.
Right.
I would be surprised. I would be shocked if he doesn't get picked up by another team, even if it's just going to the practice squad.
Nico Reed, another one that made the Chargers roster.
Very nice. Jeffrey Bassa for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Jamari Caldwell for the Chargers made their roster. James Jordan, running back, who was taken in the 4th round. So when you get to that 4th round, 5th round, you make the roster. It's pretty good. So Jordan James makes the roster for the Niners.
Tez had a really good showing in the preseason. He made it for sure.
And the backflip made
Absolutely.
it. Dude, that was
Listen, and for Tez too, it's one of those guys that just like every single year. This is the same thing happened with Bucky
Undersized,
on the same team,
right? Where
it's like you look at them in college and you just are like, wow, this guy is amazing. He's doing all these great plays, and then they don't test very well, and all of a sudden people forget that they can play football, and then you just stick him out there on the field, and you look, and it's the same thing. He's not doing anything different than he did at Oregon. He's just doing these short little routes, and he's getting a few extra yards because he's shifty, and you know what? It doesn't really matter that he's 160 pounds. Turns out.
Oregon State, Joshua Gray makes the roster for the Falcons. Gerard Lichtenstein makes the roster for the Ravens as an offensive tackle this year. Jaden Robinson makes the cut for the Broncos. Good for him. And Jermaine Terry makes the roster for the Giants.
Yeah, that looks like that's all the 2025s.
Yeah.
Keaton Oladapo still sticking around with the Packers. I think he was a 5th round pick last year.
Yeah. So I mean, really, for Oregon and Oregon State, it's pretty good this year.
Some good representation,
and some of the kids that were not, drafted high, but some that were expected. I mean, if you're a 3rd round pick or above, there's a lot of stock. I mean, there's a lot of stock in you, and I think NFL teams think that you're going to be able to make the roster unless you just totally flame out in
not
practices.
Only that, if you're a top 3 round guy, you're expected to potentially make a year 1 impact. Potentially, not every time, but potentially.
Then after that, it's really a roll of the dice.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, and a lot of the guys that Oregon's been putting out in the NFL, and same with Oregon State, those top tier guys have not busted. Those guys have played really well. But then even the guys that haven't been first 3 rounds, first 4 rounds, Bucky Irving, Tez Johnson, even a guy on the Packers, Evan Williams, those guys are actually panning out and making significant impacts. So I think that you might look going forward, and Oregon's guys might not be underdrafted going forward because they're bringing out guys that are really contributing.
We'll be watching this as we head into the NFL season, which is, for all of you guys out there, fantasy is going to be out there. Are we going to talk a little fantasy before the end of the week, by the way?
Yeah, we have time.
Maybe with Goose when we get in for big bets. Yeah, absolutely.
Is he a big fantasy guy?
Sure. I don't know. We got to figure that out. Yes, we do.
A joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
This is a quick one.
Okay.
And one that you're going to get right away.
Okay.
Why did the orange lose the race?
I don't know.
It ran out of juice.
It ran out of juice. There you go. Heard that one before.
You have?
No, I just heard running out of juice before. It was more talking about myself when I go for my runs. I run out of juice.
All right. So again, tomorrow on the program, it's the voice of the Cal Bears.
Mm-hmm. Justin Allegri.
All right. Beautiful. And again, on Thursday, we'll be out at Laurelwood, Mike Parker, and then we close out the week with Yogi Roth and our big bets. Thanks for listening. Thanks again to Dave Eanet and Justin Wilcox for joining us today on the program. God bless you. Put a smile on your face. Someone else says they deserve it. So do you. For Baby J, I'm Danny. Peace.